Hi everyone, welcome back to the Atheist Viewpoint. I'm Ellen Johnson, I'm the president of American Atheists, and this time on your right is our trusty co-host, Dennis Horvitz, and in the middle, Lenny, if you can imagine Lenny being in the middle of the road, Lenny Brenner. Thank you for joining us again, Lenny. Lenny is the author of 6 books. His most recent he's edited is Jefferson and Madison on the Separation of Church and State. He was also the editor of 51 Documents, Zionist Collaboration with the Nazis. If you have any questions for Lenny about anything you hear him talk about on any of our programs, you can email him at what, Lenny?
BRENNERL21 at AOL.com.
BrennerL21 at AOL.com. Lenny wants to talk today about Proverbs. Dennis's favorite proverb is?
By Little Richard. The beauty is still on duty.
Isn't that cool? But those are not the kinds of proverbs you want to talk about, Lenny. Why do you want to talk about proverbs?
Well, I'll tell you.
What kind of proverbs?
You see, here we are, 3 people literate and so on, talking about and bad-mouthing Jesus and Moses and Muhammad and all them fellas and so on and so forth, And it's hard to realize that we're so educated, but there's millions and millions of people that ain't educated out there. And this has been, it was even more true in the past, Education was a rare thing. But it didn't mean that people weren't thinking. I mean, most people, poor people got poor ways, to use a proverb, all right? Mm-hmm. And they're uneducated and they say stupid things, all right? But in the middle of all that stupidity is every so often somebody says something smart. And because it's smart, it catches on and goes out as a folk saying. It's not attributed. We don't have folk sayings today because everybody is smart enough. If they say something intelligent, they go and get a publisher, or they write it and send it off to what's the Washington office, or the copyright office, and so on and so on. So there's no folk sayings, But I was in prison in the 60s, for my politics and for dope and all kinds of good stuff. Marijuana dope, good dope, And I remember running into Jerusalem Slim. That was the term in the prison for Jesus, was Jerusalem Slim.
Jerusalem Slim.
Yeah, and they caught, there's an old American saying, never play poker with a guy named Doc.
Yep.
All right, famous saying, in other words, out there, long before colleges came out west, etc., you had the riverboat gamblers and stuff like that, the worldly, Mark Twain kind of people, etc., etc. So if you look around the world, you find that kind of folkism, that kind of no author known kind of things like Jerusalem Slim, and every culture has them. Now, the greatest single book on Proverbs is Selwyn Gurney Champion's Racial Proverbs. I mean, he's dead 50 years and so on, but he collected millions of proverbs from all over the world. Most of them are nonsense, because most people are nonsense, But he distilled out about 26,000 of the best proverbs.
So a proverb, by definition, is a what?
Is an unattributed folk saying. In other words, It's in the culture.
Then my statement about Little Richard would not be true because it's attributed.
Right, because we know
would
it
not
is.
be
It's not literally,
not
literally a proverb.
But like a stitch in time saves 9.
Right,
that would be
that's a proverb.
Right.
All
Okay.
right. So there are a zillion proverbs, and one of the things as I was going through it, I picked out the ones that are specifically on religion. Now, they're not necessarily the best proverbs. I mean, like my favorite proverb, and Dennis and I were talking about it before, and, as atheists as a minority, this will ring a bell, is if you listen to most people, you will hunt rabbits in the sea. All right? And the fools outnumber the wise in every town in the world. In other words, it ain't an accident that we're a minority, etc. And, we grow as education grows and so on and so forth. But all along, in every one of these societies, there's always somebody who was critical of the religion, no matter how official the religion was, etc., etc. I don't know if you folks are familiar with Camino Burana, the songs from Germany.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then everybody out there that ain't heard about Camino Burana, Karl Orff wrote a thing called Camino Burana. What he took was medieval drinking and sin songs, and in German and Latin, etc., and put them together about 1927, I think it was, and it's one of the great classics of music. Oh, I mean, if I'd have known that you didn't know, I literally would have brought some of that along, you know. And these are old drinking songs of the.
Not available on iTunes, right?
No, it would be. I mean,
you never know.
They play him on.
How do you spell it?
Carmina, Carmena, Burana, Burana.
Okay.
And the author, the composer is Carl Orff, Orff. And I mean, the Philharmonic plays them. Everybody plays them.
Carl Orff wrote Carmina Burana.
Carmina Burana.
Okay.
Right? So I'm saying, in other words, there's a tradition. Now, see, what he did was he took these medieval songs. You know, and again, they're not proverbs, literally, because a proverb is a short line, but they are, again, anonymous, because you're writing secular, you know, let's get in there with the whiskey and the women in the middle of the Middle Ages. You don't be putting your name on that.
Because they're hundreds of years old.
Right.
You know, you lose the authorship.
So and sometimes you can tell what kind of society, you know, it is, but like there's one proverb: no matter how great the mosque, the imam only knows what he knows. So you know that's from a Muslim country, you know.
Yes.
Now the same proverb with a Christian background is: the Pope and the peasant know more than the Pope alone. You see? Now these are not.
That is catchy.
Yeah.
That is kind of.
Yeah. All right. Now one of my favorites is a Bulgarian proverb. Now let me explain. When you're studying proverbs, I try to do it. This is a Bulgarian, this is an Algerian, this is a French. It doesn't work. It's hard enough to remember the proverbs without knowing where they come from. You know. Okay. But one I know is from Bulgaria, which is even God is a sinner. After all, He made the world. Okay.
Does have that Bulgarian ring to it.
Yes,
you know.
yes. And they also say in Bulgarians, a jackass to Jerusalem is a jackass to Jerusalem, a jackass from Jerusalem. All right? And many a jackass has entered Jerusalem. Now, I've been to Jerusalem, and I can tell you that they lacketh not. I mean, you know, you get holy rollers from, you know, Jerusalem. I went to the Dome of the Rock, you know, which is the old shrine, the Temple of Jerusalem. I mean, you know, the Romans destroyed the Temple of Jerusalem, and then centuries later, the Muslims built this marvelous, beautiful dome. Beautiful dome, all right? And it's a big tourist attraction. And I went up with a whole bunch of Jesus freaks, okay? And, I mean, to show you how beautiful, you know, just as an aside, when we got up to the top of the stairs, and we actually had a view of the thing, one of these guys goes, "Oh, my God." And he took the words out of my mouth. I mean, it was so gorgioso.
Yeah.
I mean, all right? And I had papers from the Arab League, so that, you know, they knew who I was, so they let me wander around. Everything in the dome, everything is a collector's item, belongs in a museum.
Sure.
I mean, you know, the doorknobs, you know.
Right,
I mean,
right.
You know, I mean, just beautiful. Now, funny enough, this is because it's a Jewish state. You don't hear about the gorgeous Dome of the Rock in the publicity why you should come to Jerusalem, you know. But it's, I mean, let me put it this way: you've been to the Vatican?
Mm-hmm.
You can't not.
Sistine Chapel.
Sistine Chapel and the dome there. All right.
Yeah.
So it's the same sort of thing. It's a smaller dome because it was built 1,000 years before, the Sistine Chapel. But it is beautiful, and you never get it in the publicity, because the publicity is all Jews, and Christians, etc. All right. But at any rate, what I'm getting at is that there are sayings like, an ounce of mother wit is better than a pound of clergy. All right? Okay? Now here's one that's interesting. Blacks paint their devils white.